So I just got out of Twitter because God knows how fucking hard it is to have a nice conversation there. Although I admit I may have baited a little. It's bait the right word? Maybe exaggerated. Yeah, maybe exaggerated. Exaggerated is the right word. So I saw this post on Twitter and obviously commented, yeah, maybe it's more so shitty writing than forgetting, right? Which obviously got me ratioed in no time. I mean, it's a popular Jojo account, so I'm gonna get ratioed if I express an uncommon opinion, and I'm gonna get lots of likes if I suck Araki's dick. That's just how it works. That's how Mafia works, I guess. First, and don't get me wrong, I'm probably the biggest... Wait, no, there are probably way more people obsessed with Jojo than me, but I do really like the series, and I've read it many times. And no, I don't think Araki forgot like is the common belief, but I do think he failed in some scenarios, although he polished those the more the series advanced. Part 7 and Part 8 were probably the best of his work. My favorite is Part 6 though. I mean, Jolene is pretty cool. What are those fails? Well, I'll just use examples from different series and maybe make some comparisons where it was handled better. First, let's get this straight. We need to start with a simple rule. The script can make you do anything. Let's see Dragon Ball. We're at a point where people have gotten stupidly powerful. So, Goku fights Roshi. And Roshi wins. Just that. They weren't playing, Goku's there, defeated, Roshi's standing on top. It doesn't make sense, doesn't it? It doesn't. Yet it happened. How? It doesn't really matter. I mean, it really does. If you want to keep consistency and credibility on a series, it does. But the fact is that a full-powered Goku just lost against Roshi. So Stan Lee had a simple answer for this. These are fictitious characters, and the writer can do whatever the fuck they want with them. Without the fuck, probably. You can see him in this video. I may be quoting him wrong. I'll put the link down. What will decide if the storytelling was good or not is the road it takes to get to that conclusion. Maybe Roshi found Goku's weak spot, or maybe Roshi was a legendary Super Saiyan all along. It's up to the writer to lead us there, or make us try to theorize how the hell did that work, which usually ends up on Twitter debates. If it's bad executed, people will not be satisfied, and it could be very well conceived as bad writing. Then why do I say Jojo has bad writing to the point where I call it shit writing? Well, this is more about this particular subject. I don't think like the whole Jojo as a series, oh yeah, no, this is shit writing. It's more like this particular part is, yeah, this is shit writing, alright? So, it's more about this particular subject. Abdul. Araki states he killed Abdul because he wanted to inject a little reality to the story, having someone sacrificed every once in a while. And all this reasoning, which he also did with Kakyoin, but yeah, it didn't feel as impactful since he didn't fucking die. Abdul's death had an important role on Polnareff's development, and it was a good closure to a character that had already lost its purpose. What the fuck are you talking about? He didn't kill Dio yet, his purpose wasn't lost. No, I'm talking about how he wasn't adding anything to the story, you moron. What are you on about? If Idol didn't revive, Judgment would have won, and then they wouldn't be able to talk to the info guy on the capital, or Polnareff and Iggy would have been killed. Yeah, remember what I've said first, dipshit? The script can change depending on what's needed. So yeah, Neo would have died one way or another. This is fiction, you fucking dumbass. So yeah, that little reality Araki wanted to inject felt a little dumb when I saw Abdul returning. But I know they gave him a proper explanation on why did he survive, which is alright. His revive, or his resurrection or something, his comeback, didn't decrease my belief on this setup, but it disappointed me on a narrative level. Jojo is not the only series with this problem. One Piece experimented the same thing with Pell the bird guy dying with a bomb on the Arabasta arc. The author puts the reader through grief just to say psych. Think about it, how would we feel as readers if characters like Ace, or Pedro, or Yasuie from One Piece came back to life? Even with a logical explanation, which would be kind of hard on some cases, not gonna lie. Or how did the fans reacted when... Okay, stop. One Piece spoiler alert. Are you sure? Okay. This is gonna be spoiler. I suggest you might skip some 20 seconds. Alright? Okay. How did the fandom feel when Kinemon wasn't actually dead? I mean, yeah, sure, you can give us a logical explanation, but it's still a letdown since that is a really powerful topic on any kind of story. You're saying goodbye to a beloved character. Although there are some cases where fake-out deaths can actually be managed well. Like in the case of Joseph Joestar, where fake-out deaths are kind of his trademark. When he dies and then revives, it's more like, you did it, you crazy son of a bitch. You actually did it. So yeah, that's about the Apple thing and why it's shitty. Another thing that's crucial to the story is to start building pieces in advance if they want to shock the audience later. This is the problem with Jotaro's magnet, which I'm gonna touch in a minute. And it may also be the very well reason why so many people think Araki forgot. Let's look at an example in Naruto or Hunter x Hunter. The protagonists want to achieve something that is not yet on their capabilities. In the case of Naruto, it's the Rasengan, and in the case of Gon, is, well, being able to catch the weird clone thingy. So the author shows us their training. They could have totally chosen not to do this, and just jump to the action and then say, yeah, we were training for this period of time. Which would be a disappointing way to solve the issue, but it would solve it, right? I mean, there was an explanation. Heck, the author could even choose to not tell us shit, and we as readers we would have to try to fill in the gaps with information we already know. Which would be controversial, since the author didn't make a clear explanation. This way, everyone has a different interpretation of what happened and considers it canon. Wrongly, because the author never stated anything, so these are just assumptions. We also have One Piece to make an example for this. Once we get to Water 7, we are confronted by the fact that there is a masked party going on. Which is a clever way for Chopper not causing an uproar, and then for CP9 to make their move swiftly. But the best use of this is when Usopp uses these resources on the train to give birth to his new alias, Sogeking. For him to find a mask just when he wanted to hide his identity is surely a convenience, but a completely believable one, since we have a whole situation going on that actually explains it. Unlike this, Luffy's year 2nd or year 3rd don't really work that well. Although they could be explained with lots of panels and a Reddit post on how his encounter with Kusan made him realize he needed to get stronger, the power-up doesn't feel earned, and it would actually make the reader think, I guess he could do that. I mean, who could do that even as the series started, so he just realized it. The build-up on these two cases from Usopp's Sogeking costume and Luffy's power-up are completely different. And even now, Oda has taken a pretty common resource which is the time skip. This is to make sure something like this doesn't happen anymore. Every new technique we experience from now on could be explained with, this is what I'll learn in my training. I've been away for 2 years, I've been doing some things, and now I'm showing them. Which is not that mind-breaking, I mean, it's not the most awesome thing, but solves lots of troubles that may come in the future. This isn't the case on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and I'm just gonna pick one specific case, but if you can get yourself to read the whole series again, you'll realize this is really present in at least the first 4 parts. This is about Jotaro's magnets. These items present themselves like a Deus Ex Machina, since they conveniently enter the situation to save Jotaro's life. There is no build-up that actually can balance the importance of what these things represent. I mean, these things are pretty relevant, and we as readers are left to wonder what's up with that. And even then, maybe Araki realized that himself, since just after that, Diokanda explains where Jotaro got his magnets. Which is still ambiguous, since there are lots of questions that the reader has to answer by himself. This nitpick is usually not a problem. Like, let's say, in cases like, let's go back to Hunter x Hunter, where Kurapika buries his enemies with a shovel, it leaves us wondering where the fuck did he get that shovel. But it doesn't really matter since it doesn't affect the plot that much. In Jojo's case, these magnets are changing the fucking momentum of the fight. That's why a proper explanation is needed. And no, not those 2 fucking panels where Jotaro writes a note to steal it and that's not a comparable explanation. Motherfucker, that shit isn't even magnetic. What are you on about? No, please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's impossible for Jotaro to get his hands on these magnets. It's totally possible. He went and grabbed it at some point on the trip. What I'm saying is, it was never mentioned. So the reader has to nod and say, well, I guess that happened, to any convenience. See, there's this rule Ronald Knox lays out on how to write a good detective story. That is, the criminal must be mentioned in the early part of the story, but must not be anyone whose thoughts the reader has been allowed to know. This works as a payoff to the reader and rewards his commitment to the story. In a mystery story, you could make anyone the main antagonist, but if it isn't anyone you've seen before, why would you care? There has to be a build-up. This is why Diamond is Unbreakable and Jojo work so well. Heck, Toru was a good reveal since it rewards the reader when you read Jojo again, now knowing who the main villain is. There isn't a moment like that in Stardust Crusaders, a moment where you say, damn, thank God Jotaro kept his magnetic pocket planner. Because he didn't give us one. This may also be the main reason why people think Araki forgets. The dude spent lots of time building themes just to drop them. And it's not because he forgot them, it's just that he didn't know how to make these topics work anymore. So the best course of action was just to drop it and move on. He proceeds to write a panel on why the things stopped working, like in the lore, and of course people find it strange. People want to find any kind of reward for being supportive. And Araki has actually given them this from time to time, with old Joseph and reference he throws here and there. Again, all of these topics are handled in such an incredible way when we start part 7. I mean, Araki finally managed to merge 2 powered systems, and they work perfectly in Unison. That's just what happens with authors. They just get better with time. Well, I mean, not every author. Now let's face it. If a great part of the fandom thinks Araki forgot is actually a thing, even if it's not, there just has to be an issue with how things are presented. And no, at least early Jojo is not a philosophical series with lots of themes and deep characters, because that's always the same argument. You just don't understand it. That's why you don't get it. Get off your fucking high horse. Early Jojo is just fun, strong guys fighting in a clever and creative way against villains. There's no politics or really multi-layered characters. Even the world building is kinda basic, which is alright. You get really cool and stoic moments, but let's not pretend it's not this wacky series people join in for the fun and then stayed for the amazing plot we got in later parts. Ringo, I love you. With all of this said, yeah, maybe calling Abdul's fake out dead shitty writing can be an exaggeration, but I do consider that lots of parts in early Jojo were poorly written. Jojo is still one of my favorite series, but I'd rather criticize and appreciate how good it has become over the time, rather than just like it because the vast majority think so. Also, the fact that something can have bad writing does not mean it's not enjoyable, and Stardust Crusaders is just proof of that. There are lots of things that part actually did right. And you can criticize something and also like it, it's alright, god damn!